Chapter 1865 Origin. All efforts failed at the last moment. Before his body completely lost feeling, this thought emerged in Zhang Yi's mind. Are there any regrets? Maybe there is, but I don't feel too sorry. There are so many things in the world, and no one can really grasp anything. We can only do our best and obey our fate. Yang Xinxin's plan was perfect, and Zhang Yi and his team executed it very well. So in the end, even though the variable of Ichigo emerged, there was nothing they could do. After all, you, Zhang Yi, cannot be allowed to cheat. Who among those who can appear on this battlefield is not the best of their respective countries or even races? Yes, here, Zhang Yi truly felt the feeling of death, although it was the second time for him. But this time there was no pain, because when Ichigo released the final weapon, everything was quickly destroyed. There was a white light before my eyes, and the world turned into nothingness. Zhang Yi touched his chin and thought, with Togel's self-explosion, he will definitely not be able to survive. Otherwise, he should have used this trick directly from the beginning and killed all of us. So, what will the results of the trial say? Did everything fail? That would be interesting. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in his ears. It was very familiar. It was Ling's voice. The sound is different from the ordinary and has no emotion. Congratulations, you've passed this trial. Next, I will tell you what you want to know, and the truth of this world. Zhang Yi looked around and saw Ling walking out from the vast expanse of white, appearing there very abruptly. However, Ling at this moment is different from what I have seen in the past. She was wearing a pure white tight-fitting battlesuit, which looked very much like the first-generation black battlesuit Zhang Yitia was wearing. This kind of battlesuit highlights her figure, but she is still young, and her well-proportioned figure is very much like a swimmer. She does not look charming or seductive, but rather lively and lovely. Zhang Yi asked in surprise, I passed the test. In other words, Ichigo's final blow didn't kill me. Ling walked up to Zhang Yi and said calmly, No, you are all dead. This is a total annihilation ending. Then why did I pass the trial? Zhang Yi pointed at his nose, and suddenly, he said with sudden enlightenment, Could it be that I am really the chosen one? Ling glanced at him calmly and continued, Because we must select a successor to inherit the Yihan tribe. So, although you all died, we have selected the most outstanding candidate based on your performance throughout the battle. Zhang Yi puffed out his chest proudly. Yes, I am the best candidate. He was overjoyed and thought, I am really not ordinary. By the way, is the Yihan tribe, you just mentioned the name of your tribe? Also, what is the reward after passing the trial? Zhang Yi couldn't wait any longer. He was eager to get the treasure of this god-level civilization and become stronger. If he could use this to become the top creature on the planet, then he would have the confidence to deal with unknown dangers. When you are ready, go to Qingdao Fog Valley first and string up the reptiles from the Wulwan Empire for barbecue. Zhang Yi thought so jokingly in his heart. Ling ignored what he said, her voice echoing in the empty, white space. Don't worry, listen to me, and you will know the truth. As soon as she finished speaking, the light and shadow of the world before her eyes suddenly changed. I'll explain it to you in a way you can understand. The white space turned into a pitch-black world, empty and filled with endless darkness. And at this moment, a pure white color suddenly appeared in the upper area. This is a low-dimensional universe. It has nothing, it is empty, and its existence is an accident of various dimensions. But because it is empty, it can give birth to infinite energy. She pointed her finger above the dark world, to the bright world. And in a higher dimension, there is another world. This world is filled with another kind of existence, which you can understand as spirit. Then, her hand continued to move upward, pointing to the direction that was probably empty. And at a higher level, of course, I'm not talking about the higher level you can see with your naked eyes. I mean a higher dimension. There is also a world where high-dimensional creatures that we call gods can live. Zhang Yi nodded, not quite understanding. Ling said, This world has infinite universes and 11 dimensions. The existence of the universes in some dimensions is meaningless. The universe we live in can be called the material world. There are only one universe that we know. Above the material world, she pointed at the white space, is the spiritual world. Or you can also call it the etheric world. That world is full of spirits. And the higher world we can access is the world that created all the worlds in this universe today. It is the space where we believe the Creator and God reside. In layman's terms, it is the realm of the gods. Zhang Yi listened silently. What Ling Xiao said was the worldview of the world he lived in. He knew nothing about it and was shocked after listening to it. Ling continued. The Creator discovered this empty universe and wanted to perceive the existence of this world. However, because the dimension he was in was too high, he could not directly recognize even a single thing in this universe. Hearing this, Zhang Yi raised his doubts. Shouldn't the Creator be omniscient and omnipotent? With his abilities, how could he be unable to perceive this world? Ling looked at Zhang Yi helplessly. It really takes time to explain such complicated things to creatures with lower civilization levels. So she held up a finger, the tip of her finger facing up. Look, suppose there is a zero-dimensional world here. Can you see how the creatures in this world exist, reproduce, and live? Zhang Yi stared, trying his best to imagine, but still couldn't. Zero dimension is a point without height, length, or width. It doesn't even take up any space. How can you imagine that? Ling said, living things cannot perceive dimensions higher than themselves. Objects on a two-dimensional screen cannot see that the multidimensional world is observing them. But the multidimensional world can change the two-dimensional world at will. So, the fifth dimension can change everything in this world. Even time, which we think is irreversible, is a real thing in their eyes. She gave an example. It's like when you watch a TV series. In the TV series, the characters can follow the plot, but you have something called a progress bar, and you can control it to rewind the plot. I am from the zero-dimensional world, but I am also unable to recognize the zero-dimensional world. The dimensional gap is too big, and the higher dimension cannot recognize the lower dimension. Because of this, she pointed in an inexplicable direction. The Creator of the divine world must rely on the spirit of the etheric world as a medium to understand the material world. Zhang Yi scratched his head. Spirit, does it refer to our souls? Ling nodded. You can probably understand it this way. The Creator first created this universe. He created a world from nothingness, and then created life. Finally, among these life forms, he selected the existences that he thought were satisfactory and injected spirit into them. These spiritual creatures are the eyes of the Creator. The Creator senses the world through them. Zhang Yi's brain was already somewhat confused because of the large amount of information injected into it. Wait, the Creator created this universe out of nothing? Zhang Yi recalled the moon, stars, and the people around him. These things come from nothing? Ling didn't pay any attention to Zhang Yi's surprised reaction. That's right. There is nothing in this universe. Zhang Yi nodded without much comment. Sure, Ling then said, right now, this universe is still nothingness. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. Nothingness? Are you kidding me? Are the countless stars false? Is this planet also false? Are we also false? Ling stared at Zhang Yi and said, the Creator possesses unimaginable power. He is the collective unconsciousness of all the spirits in the etheric world and is the supreme being. Everything you see is an illusion presented by the naked eye. In fact, except for the spirit in your body, your flesh, blood, bones, and every part of you are fake. Zhang Yi thought this statement was extremely absurd. Everything they see with their eyes is fake. Doesn't that mean their life, their entire world, is just a simulated game? Ling explained, you humans have a discipline that explains the laws of the universe. Although it is simple, it also studies the atomic field, right? Zhang Yi said, that subject is called physics. Ling was trying to use the most understandable language to make Zhang Yi understand what she wanted to express. This feeling is a bit like humans teaching a newborn baby to speak, and they have to use a foolproof teaching method. Then let me ask you, have you discovered any fundamental particles in this world that cannot be differentiated? Zhang Yi was really in trouble at this time. I know that the smallest particle is a quark. It's hard for his high school physics teacher. He didn't listen much in physics class, but he liked looking at the paintings above. Ling told him simply and bluntly, matter does not exist at all. Matter is the manifestation of force. As she spoke, she placed her palm on Zhang Yi's chest, and Zhang Yi felt a clear touch on his chest. Look, is my palm really touching you now? Zhang Yi nodded. Ling said, but the particles that make up my palm can never touch your body. My touching you is just an illusion that you subconsciously believe. Matter does not exist, and particles do not exist. Although human beings' Big Bang theory is not absolutely correct, it is very close to reality. The birth of the universe is just the Creator's energy bursting out from a singular point of nothingness. It is His energy that creates everything. Everything you see is just a manifestation of the Creator's energy. Zhang Yi inexplicably felt that this theory sounded very familiar. He does not believe in religion, but he has learned some knowledge about Junjiang Christianity from textbooks. According to the Bible, this is how God created all things. In the beginning, when God created the heaven and the earth, the world was in an empty and chaotic state. There was nothing in it, like a boundless abyss, with only darkness. The Spirit of God was moving above the empty water. God said, "Let there be light." Thus, light was born in this world. God created the moon, stars, and planets in the universe from nothing before, and later created the air, water, flowers, birds, insects, and fish on the earth. The sixth creation was human beings. In the past, Zhang Yi only regarded these as myths, but now combined with what Ling said, he felt a little chilly. Could it be that the so-called ancient myths of the past were not actually the false fabrications of our ancestors, but contained true history? It was the ancients who left the truth of history to future generations in an easy-to-understand way. Zhang Yi stared at his hands blankly, and the physics knowledge that he had almost forgotten over the years suddenly emerged in his mind. If his body were split into pieces infinitely and then squeezed into a ball, how big would it be in the end? Even stars can be compressed into bodies weighing hundreds of millions of tons per cubic centimeter, and there are black holes so dense that they can absorb light. After compressing it, it might really become a zero-dimensional thing with nothing in it. Ling's voice rang out. The visible has no substance, and the invisible has substance. The power of the spirit is greater than the shaped form. After this world was created, God dispersed a part of his body, that is, the spirit of the etheric world, and endowed it on the creatures of this world, so that they could perceive this world. That's where life comes from. Zhang Yi thought about it and suddenly asked curiously, "Do all living things contain spirits?" Ling shook her head. "No. Only intelligent creatures have it. All other life forms are just options, or tools that make up this world. That's why intelligent creatures can have extremely high intelligence and develop civilization." Zhang Yi was deeply shocked. This day was a very significant day in his life. He began to reevaluate the world. Evolution, is it wrong too? Ling said, "For the intelligent creatures chosen as observers, it is indeed wrong. But for other creatures, there are certain objective laws that are correct." At this moment, an idea suddenly emerged in Zhang Yi's mind. If the Creator is a higher dimensional being, can he reverse the time of this world? Ling looked at Zhang Yi deeply and nodded. Of course. But then she added, "But reversing time is something that only creatures of higher dimensions can do. That's going to be very difficult." Zhang Yi sighed in his heart. He thought of his own rebirth. At this moment, he began to doubt whether it was the ability he had awakened to foresee, or was he really reborn after being killed. "Is it difficult?" Ling chuckled. "You seem to have forgotten one thing." Zhang Yi blinked. Ling pointed her finger at his brain. Ling is a superdimensional existence. That is to say, from the very beginning, intelligent creatures themselves are carriers of superdimensions. They are beings of higher dimensions. It's like you can't enter the two-dimensional world, but you can create a character through a video game as your stand-in or carrier and then affect the two-dimensional world. Spirit is a higher dimensional being. The invisible has power. It can affect the laws of material operation in this world and even transcend the dimension of time. This is why you can predict the future. Ling looked directly into Zhang Yi's eyes. Do you think the world works in a certain way or in an uncertain way? Of course it's uncertain. Zhang Yi answered this question without any hesitation. No one knows what tomorrow will be like. No one knows whether it will be windy or rainy, or whether the planet will be destroyed. There are too many uncertain factors in this world. It's like flipping a coin. The probability of any side appearing is always 10%. But then, Ling said something that subverted Zhang Yi's cognition. No, everything in this world has a set law of operation and a set result. There is no coincidence at all. Everything is inevitable. Zhang Yi frowned and wanted to say something to refute. Ling raised her hand, and suddenly coins appeared in her palm. Is the probability of getting heads when you toss a coin 50%? That's not true. Because when you toss the coin, your hairstyle, air resistance, and wind speed are all fixed. Their combined effect will give you an inevitable result. Zhang Yi, you might as well think about it. Use your shallow knowledge of physics. The scientist named Newton once said, "What is the necessary factor that affects the state of motion of an object?" Zhang Yi said, "Yes." He also remembered that in the absence of external influences, matter always remains in a state of uniform rectilinear motion or at rest. Ling said, "At the beginning of the universe, the Creator gave it a primitive body and created the best environment for the birth of life on this planet. Since then, the world has been running according to the laws of nature. If we observe the entire universe, and it is not subsequently affected by any external factors, then is its state of motion unchanged?" Zhang Yi didn't know how to answer. Ling continued, "If you humans initially understood that the birth of humans was a miracle of random birth in the universe, rather than the will of the Creator, then is your emergence in this system that is not affected by the outside world also inevitable?" She pointed at Zhang Yi and said, "So, for humans in this system, including you, are all your thoughts and actions inevitable? If that's the case, then of course I can predict your future behavior based on the laws of the universe." Zhang Yi was silent. He couldn't answer at all because the more he thought about it, the more he felt that what Ling said made sense. Is everything in this world predetermined? Is it true that everything is determined by fate? Ling gave another explanation. The only thing that can truly affect the operation of the material world is external energy. That is the observation of the spirit of a higher dimension. It is human observation that causes changes in the world and gives rise to all kinds of uncertainties. Zhang Yi's mind was in a mess, but he still grasped the key to the problem. "I think, therefore I am." It turns out that Sage Wang's theory hundreds of years ago had already predicted the connection between human observation and the meaning of the existence of the universe. If it weren't for the need to be observed by humans, then this universe would have no need to exist at all. The birth of the universe is due to the great will of the Creator, which is constant and unchanging. And humans, every generation of humans, are the carriers of the spirit separated by the Creator. It is like the relationship between a computer server and a personal computer after it is disconnected from the internet. Individuals can change the universe through observation, but due to the weakness of the spirit, such changes will be brought back to the original track by the spirit of the Creator. Zhang Yi closed his eyes, his head ached. Many memories came back to him, and he began to doubt his life. Is the purpose of my existence to observe this world? It doesn't seem to matter, because most people's lives are meaningless to begin with. So, throughout history, many myths and religions have said that planets are the core of the universe. Is that correct? Are Copernicus and Bruno wrong? Ling nodded. That's right. This planet is the center of the universe. The entire universe was created to create a planet suitable for observers to survive. Zhang Yi wiped his face. His heart was somewhat numb due to excessive shock. What does this have to do with us? Please tell me. Although he knew that these things were invaluable, what he cared about most was not how he came to be, but how he lost them. He meant that he cared more about the present. Even if his original body was just a standalone system separated from the server of creation, he still wanted to live a good life. He had no energy to think about the meaning of life. Ling said, "This is the origin of the universe. When all this is ready, the Creator will come. Your current generation is not the first human to appear on the planet. There were several generations of humans before you, and you are the sixth generation." Zhang Yi crossed his arms and listened to this step very carefully. Perhaps next he would be able to know what those underground civilizations were and how the final disaster came about. The first generation of humans was named ASU. They were a group of beast-like creatures without brains and with very poor survival abilities. After emerging from the planet, they soon became endangered because they had no ability to hunt and could not take care of themselves. The creators realized that they could not survive independently, so they created a second race, the angels, to come to Earth.